Welcome back to the One's Ready podcast. We're out here at the 75th anniversary of the weapons school. We've been talking to these guys all night. My boy Mega is on here right now. We're already goofing around. This is probably going to be one of the better ones. As you can tell, the night's gone on, and here we are. So Mega, welcome. Thanks for coming on.
How are you doing? Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Man, really, really good.
Yeah,
thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
You came over and he was like, hey, you need somebody to talk to?
He's standing over here by himself. I thought I would give him some company.
That's how I like being alone. I'm an extroverted introvert. Right?
All right,
like,
there you go.
I have these conversations and I have to be a recluse and throw the headphones on and pretend like I'm listening to stuff.
Pretend like you're doing
It's just like a sound machine. It's just, the ocean. So, man, Tristan, Mega, tell us what brought you to the weapons school. Like, what, first and foremost, what AFSC are you? What job do you do?
Sure. So my AFSC, I am a 12R, so I'm an EWO. Proud EWO.
What is an EWO?
An electronic warfare officer,
Nice.
or I guess an electromagnetic warfare officer. Depends on who you ask. But
Okay.
Yeah, so we specialize in dominating the spectrum. All the things that are beeping and squeaking and connecting wirelessly, we do all of that.
That is fantastic. That is. We get a ton of questions about cyber and EWO and EMS and all that other stuff. So people are going to be super duper interested. So. A 12R, you focus on the EWO spectrum of warfare.
That's right.
Is that what you wanted to get into the Air Force to do? Like, how did you find yourself in this job?
Shockingly, yes. I'm one of the rare people who was nerdy enough to want to do that coming out of ROTC.
I would have never said that.
Yeah,
ROTC out of where?
So I was University of Illinois.
Let's
Fighting
go.
Illini.
The Fighting Illini.
That's right. I initially wanted to be like an intel officer.
Okay, yeah.
Or a cyber dude. Because I love computer stuff and I love, international politics and stuff like that. So I thought, intel or cyber. But I had some leaders when I was in proxy who said, you should probably fly. Because it's the Air Force, so they wanted to encourage me to fly, but I didn't want to be a pilot. I didn't really want to do the whole RPA thing. I thought about doing that, but I was talked into going the CISO path, the Combat Systems Officer path, right? Where you could be an EWO, and I learned more about being an EWO, and it combined a lot of my nerdy stuff that I like to do with a lot of the really cool tactical stuff that I later found out was, involved. Because you would think, EW historically is just, it's kind of like a thing that's used to keep assets from getting shot down, right?
Yeah. You're a hacker and
Well, and some of that stuff comes later, right? But like early on, it's like, how do I stay alive, right, for long enough to prevent an aircraft from getting shot out of the sky, right? This sort of real advanced, spectrum tactics and stuff like that. I had no idea about any of it when I was in college.
Yeah.
And then when I started to get more and more exposure, I started to become more and more obsessed. And that's how I ended up going to weapons school, because I wanted to really learn all that I could learn about the EMS, and I loved instructing. Teaching is my favorite thing to do in the world, because it gives you a chance to connect with people individually, and it gives you a chance to make people better. And quite frankly, I'm the product of a lot of really good teachers, and so to have the opportunity to teach the teachers, that was a pretty cool opportunity that I had. That's why I wanted to come here to the weapons school.
What was your favorite part about being here?
My favorite part about being here as a student or as an instructor?
Well, we'll start off with student, sure.
Oh, man. As a student, it was the fact that you are challenged every single day that you wake up. You wake up and it's never, you just get to, coast or cruise control. That's never a thing. You wake up and literally every night that you go back to bed after that day, you're a little bit better than you were when you woke up that morning. And I think that was my favorite part of it. Now, of course, at the time, I'll be honest, it didn't feel like that was my favorite.
Feels like a grind, right?
It feels like a lot of pain, but looking back on it, right, that you really appreciate that, hey, you know what? It was tough, but I got better, with each iteration of the challenge, I got a little bit better.
Do you have any of those specific debrief moments? Because, these debriefs, for those that are not tracking, like the weapons school debriefs are notoriously bloody because people just pick apart, on the flying side of it, I saw a very small part of it from doing weapons school integration in the rotary wing phase. And I'll tell you, like, those were 4-hour debriefs. Those were no kidding.
Absolutely.
Like, you're just sitting there and you're like, holy cow, like, this is the most in-depth thing. And it was awe-inspiring, but I'll tell you what, there were some times that I did stuff wrong as the PJ, the team guy.
Yeah.
And they were like, hey, you screwed this up. And I'm just like, ugh. And then we spent 30 minutes talking about it. I was like, holy cow, this is a...
But that's good stuff.
Oh, yeah, right. Guess what? Never did that again.
What I learned from people don't get in the Air Force in general is the opportunity for candid feedback.
Yeah.
That was one thing that I really loved every time, before I went to weapons school, when I got the privilege of flying with a graduate. It was awesome because those were the only flights where I really got a ton of candid feedback. And that feedback is what you need to get better. It's what you need to grow, right? And so those long debriefs, that's where you make your money. Remember I told you that I went to bed a little bit better each night?
Right, yeah.
That was after the debrief.
And a little bit later each night, depending on...
Yeah, it was after the debrief, right? Each night after the debrief, yeah, they suck, yeah, they're long, yeah, it's brutal. But it really, truly, that's where you figure out, hey, where did I mess this up? How can I get better? And that's another good thing about weapons school is you get these candid one-on-one debriefs. How often do you get that? 5.5 months that are dedicated to making you as lethal as possible.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like 5.5 months that are devoted to finding all the things that you need to fix, pointing them out, and getting them fixed. So that way when you graduate, now you can go out there and clone yourself, right? You can make a lot of other folks. And ideally, the folks that you make are even stronger because you're going to make them where you are, but you're going to get them there sooner. And then they're going to be better and better and better. And that's how you advance the entire community for your platform.
Yeah. I totally agree. So as you get through that initial pipeline, like as the student, you're now a patched instructor, you get out of weapons school.
Yeah.
When did you make the transition and want to come back? When did that bug bite you to be like, man, I want to come back and I want to instruct? Was it like graduation day? You were like, no, it's time to just hop right over the fence,
Well, graduation day, it's like you want to get a little space.
Right.
You need a little time.
You still
to
have trauma in the building, right?
Yeah. I was informed that I was gonna probably come back at graduation.
Okay.
So I kind of had the thought then, but I knew that I really wanted to come back. Pretty short into my time as a Tier 1 back I was at the FTU for the EC 130, and so having the opportunity to spend time instructing FTU instructors made me realize how much I really truly love being able to teach people who are teaching others. It's a really cool opportunity. I love solving hard problems, and so for me it didn't take long before it's like I can come back here and do those things. I can instruct instructors, I can solve hard problems, and that it was pretty easy for me to, after a few weeks really, to have that kind of bite where it's like, maybe I could go back and do that.
Maybe that is an environment
maybe that is where I want to be.
Maybe that is something that I could add to. So there was always a change for me, or at least a realization for me. When I first became an instructor, I was like, okay, listen, I remember my time pretty clearly as a student. I think I understand how things work, so I'm just going to slide right into this.
Yeah.
And then you get in, and like for us, you have to go to additional, like the Air Force wants us to go to separate instructor courses and then do all this other stuff. And I'm sure you have your own hurdles as well.
Stuff, yeah,
exactly. But you have these expectations about how things are going to go, and then almost immediately you're forced to just be like, wait, hold on, how does it go? What are the constraints and restraints that I need to worry about? And actually, like, maybe there is something that I think is better to teach the students, but it's not in the curriculum, so technically it's illegal. So you have these moral and ethical battles with yourself all the time, right?
Yeah.
But that's, again, it's like you said it before, which is, by the way, earlier when you're talking about, I was starting to think about Intel as a career path, and then you ended up where you were. I was like, oh, it sounds like you like to solve hard problems.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
I thought that in my head. It was funny for you to say it and echo it later. So self-fulfilling prophecy, or maybe.
Absolutely.
But what were some of those things that changed for you as you got into the instructor gig? And you're like, oh, wait a second, I have to step my game up in this regard, or oh, holy cow, like my perception of this was different.
So you mean like once I got to know us?
Yeah, once you
started doing
on the other side of the fence. Yeah.
Oh, I tell you what, it is definitely. You have for about 6 months a note, like it's an imposter syndrome feeling, right? Because you get there and you're like, man, I've got to do this. Like I've and you feel like everybody thinks I know everything.
Right.
And I feel you almost feel like you have to, right? And so you realize after that first, few months to 6 months, you realize that no, you don't actually have to know everything.
It's
okay to not know everything.
Sure.
Right? It's like you've got to know what you need to know what you know. You need to be able to teach what you know. But the things you don't know, you just need to know where to find.
Right. And a lot of times people aren't expecting you to know that. They know you're new to they also know it's your third week.
Yeah,
so they're like, hey, of course you don't know how to file the correct voucher. Like
exactly.
Of course. No, this doesn't
stuff.
You don't have to turn all of your certs in because you can't figure out how to work the door code once or twice. Oh, thank you, Chief.
Yeah.
You know what? You're the nicest. Nice, that's a good resupply.
Keeping the people hydrated.
Man.
Appreciate that.
Always thinking.
Yeah.
I love that guy.
Oh, yeah.
I got you, Playboy. Oh, goodness. Sorry we were interrupted.
Oh, that's all right.
We were on a roll, too.
Interrupted by an important person. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So I believe you were interrupted.
No, so I was just saying, you don't have to know it all. It's okay to show up and to learn. Mm-hmm. And that's what I love about this job. I've been doing this job since, it's about 2.5 years now, because I started in January 22.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what, every day I'm still learning something, because there's just so much to learn, across all the different platforms and all the different mission types and all the things that we can do and all the new technology that's coming online and new platforms that are coming online. There's always something new to learn, and that's great because there's never a dull moment at the weapons school. It really isn't. I mean, truly, you always got another problem to solve, and so, But on that note, I will tell you, it's possible too to get overwhelmed. It's really easy to find yourself both in your tier 1 time and back here, teaching at the weapons school. It's easy to find yourself in a situation where it's like, man, there's so many problems to solve, and there's so many things to get involved in that you might, it's pretty easy to try to get involved in all of it, right?
Sure.
And then you reach a point where it's like, well, you can't be involved in all of it, and then you're just kind of burning yourself out. So you have to find that balance. You got to choose your battles. You got to, find where you can add the most value. And of course, the number one mission is to produce graduates. So that way, you don't have to be involved in all the things because you've got a bunch of other graduates that are out there that are helping solve those hard problems.
Did you have any tools that you used to help guide yourself through that process of feeling overwhelmed? Did you use checklists, or did you, what things did you revert to? Because I mean, for me, I need to organize my entire space and then just okay, what do I need to do right now?
Totally.
And I get, usually if I can get a 6-hour buffer of space to be okay, I don't need to do anything in the next 6 hours.
Right.
All right, I need to figure my life out.
Yeah.
When you got overcome by events, or when you needed to really prioritize stuff, what were some things that you used to focus yourself on the task?
So some of those things I actually learned when I was a WUG, right? When I was a student at the weapons school, here's all the list of things that I got to do today. We're going to put it on a timeline.
Sure, yeah.
This is my daily timeline.
Here comes the reverse timeline. What's time on target? Okay, great. Well, it's going to take me 15 minutes to get there, so here we go.
That's exactly right. You build yourself your timeline, and then you figure out which of these tasks are attritable. Which of these tasks do I not really have to do?
Sure.
And the day will be just fine. And those things should be the first to go.
Right.
Hey, we'll move that to tomorrow. We'll move that to, whenever. And then once you do that, you still have to create for yourself enough buffer space. Mm-hmm. And that was a lesson that I had to learn as an instructor later.
Yeah.
Hey, you're going to get a bunch of line of sight taskers. You're going to get things that pop up throughout the day. And
drive-bys. People literally just walk by your office. And, hey, what's going on?
For people question stuff like that. So, give yourself enough of that white space. That you can slide those things in and your whole day not just sort of be wrecked. But it's just, as you say, target out. What's the biggest priority today that I need to get done? I'm going to make sure I have the appropriate amount of time to get that done. Mm-hmm. And then, you sort of slide in all the things in priority order after that. You just kind of work through.
I used to make the joke that my to-do list never gets shorter.
No.
It just gets longer. People just come in and would you give me stuff, and you're just okay, crap.
Yep.
And, it continues now at a much slower pace. But if you start taking that stuff on, it just grows.
You got to learn where you uniquely add the value. It's hey, I actually do need to do this tasker because this is unique. It's a skill set that I have or whatever that I think I'm going to add a bunch of value to. But things that you can get other folks involved to help out with, and maybe you just kind of help advise things. It just makes life a little bit easier for you. Absolutely.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
So Mega, where'd you get the call sign? What happened?
And
now I will say.
Let's see. Do I have the right? I don't have the right container in front of me here, but no, it's all right. So I don't know. Should I say this on a pod? I don't know if I should say this.
So I will preface it the same way. I told everybody, I'm like, you can give us the most PG. Nope, you can give the most PG version you want to. Like nobody.
I'll tell you this. It stands for Make EWOS Great Again. And I got the call sign.
I dig that. That's
I got
nice.
the call sign in 2016.
That sounds great. That's all.
I got it in November of 2016. So you can imagine what happened in November of 2016. And you can imagine why I might have gotten the call sign Make EWOS
Fantastic.
Great.
Fantastic.
So I'll let the audience use their imagination to fill in those gaps.
I'm here for it. Megan, thanks for coming on. Thanks for telling us about your journey. Like you have a really distinct journey. That's a crazy one. That's really cool.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
So thanks for coming on, and on behalf of us, thanks for having us out to the 75th anniversary. It's been awesome, and cool.
We got to dominate the spectrum. All right,
Thanks
a lot. We'll appreciate it.
Bye.